Hello, everyone. Welcome to my podcast. I have Luke here. Welcome, Luke.
Thank you very much for having me. It's really nice to be back, I guess.
Yeah.
It's nice to be in London.
Yeah. Again, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
And this time, I would like to start by asking you about what's going on and your own spiritual journey, because I think I'm sincerely interested in hearing more about your spiritual journey and where you are in your spiritual journey. And then from there, maybe we can continue.
I've been a committed student to a particular practice, and I keep a particular practice, which is a Kabbalistic practice. So Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism, and it's one of the oldest practices that exists today. So it's a practice that dates 3,500 years, and it goes back to the Abrahamic tradition. So Abraham is the father of the monotheistic traditions, and would arguably be the first spiritual master within the monotheistic traditions, and he was a channel. And the Kabbalists, the wisdom of Kabbalah is rooted in the Abrahamic traditions, and ultimately it evolves from Moses. So the Kabbalah is really the soul, the spiritual arm of Judaism, which from my perspective is the spiritual foundation to all the monotheistic traditions. And if we want to really understand the teachings of the monotheistic traditions, which is Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, to really understand them, to really embody them, we have to be able to connect to the Kabbalistic teaching. And Kabbalah isn't exclusively for Jewish people.
Which is kind of like holding the ground for all of the other concepts. Not others, but all, like they're not others. Maybe that's kind of like the message.
It's not separate.
Yeah, it's not
separate. It's all connected. Now, Kabbalah,
because people think it is separate, but it is not. And I mean, how I feel about Kabbalah is that it's kind of like the holding ground for that, and that the teaching is they're not separate, it's the same thing, and Kabbalah is kind of like holding that ground.
It's the foundation. It helps. It doesn't help. It points to the unity, the connection of all the wisdom teachings. It doesn't even point to it. It holds all of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like this
as a system that's a container. And as we deepen into that container, we begin to, and there's so many ways to unravel this, and I don't want to kind of go off onto a tangent. Because
go ahead.
That's hard.
Yeah, I'm certain that my listeners would be very interested in going deep into this.
It's my favorite topic, so
I know.
Yeah, I'm always surprised when someone wants to open like Pandora's box. They're like, "Let's look inside." I'm like, "You really want to go there? You really want to open the Pandora's box?"
Because that's where you expand, and we talked about it.
The expansion.
It's time for you to
expansion. So, and with expansion, something has to be let go to create the space for that expansion, and we wanted today to touch on the process of surrender, letting go, the path of surrender, which is also the path to awakening, expansion, and transformation. Both, one cannot exist without the other. It's a waveform, as above, so below. There's every. Anyway, Kabbalah. Let's stay on topic. What to say? So, to keep it simple, the teachings of Abraham. Let's try and contextualize this, which is Abraham is very important to Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, because Abraham is the father.
Yeah.
But the way he lived was really synonymous with a deep, profound spiritual connection with source. And he was the first spirit with God, whatever that word is for you. And he was the first to really connect, and to elevate, first man, let's say, to make that connection.
The bridge
between the physical and the spiritual dimension.
Esoteric or
esoteric, we use a system called the Tree of Life. The Kabbalists have something called the Tree of Life, which is the 10 Sephirot, which is the 10-dimensional structure of the world, which is similar to the chakras. Actually, you have the crown, the highest point of connection, and you have the root, Malchut, the physical world. And our path, from the Kabbalistic perspective, is to elevate from the physical into the spiritual, and then bring the spiritual to the physical. So you elevate, so you go up and you draw that light down. So the physical world emulates the spiritual in terms of its experience.
And for me, the flower of life, because I did study the flower of life and have been in a couple of workshops around that many years ago when I first started my journey in self-mastery. Flower of life is kind of like this vibration of true life force energy. So it's kind of like flower of life, which is this, the life energy hits our chakras.
For sure.
Forms 7 points, and then there are 44,000 nadis around the body, you know, other little energy channels. And then from chakras and from the nadis, and nadis are from the yogic tradition, that flower of life or that life force energy just, you know, is experienced in the physical plane. And when there are problems with the perception and with the chakras, you can't experience it everywhere, and that creates kind of like distortions in our lives as well.
So the flower of life is a system from which, so it's our way of communicating the way energy moves, or the way the spiritual, the structure of reality, the geometric.
May I say, like, it is the systemized soul.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I think that's a very nice way to say it. Systemized soul, and I'm
structured soul. It's kind of like before this video we talked about everything can be explained if you look deep enough through sex, through the male and the female, and the sexual intercourse, and that energy is the universal energy. So again, here it is the system, the structure, and the soul. So it's like the flower of life is structuring the soul, like the male meeting the female.
It's both. It's both the male and the female.
Male meeting the female.
Masculine, feminine
That's
meeting
like
in union, and it has a name. So the masculine has its own name. So actually they call it Metatron, and has a particular energy. So the Star of David comes to the masculine representation of the flower of life. Yeah. When we start to look at the geometric systems, it also contains, the flower of life is endlessly fascinating, and there are so many ways that we can actually look at that system. My personal interest with the flower, there are so many points of conversation, but my personal interest with the flower of life is specifically in relationship to sound, because that's what I explore. And my
sound, energy, vibration,
which is the relationship between the building blocks of reality. And sound as a waveform, or light as a waveform, they can be understood through the flower of life. The flower of life it contains with it all of the knowledge of reality. Actually, it's a image that has dated back to antiquity, and it's been found in many different civilizations, from Egypt to Israel to Greece, on pyramids. It was studied by Leonardo da Vinci. It was obsessively studied by Isaac Newton. It
but it's kind of like the ground also of maths and physics and geometry.
It's the intersection of all of it. All of it. It's from maths, physics, geometry, spiritual teaching.
I remember we already talked about it. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, that everything, like reality, is very much aligned with science. Reality and science are the same thing. It's like math, geometry. So to connect with reality, It's like the way we connect with reality is through math and geometry. It's not through our thinking process, actually. We can align our thought process, we can align our minds with reality and what is, which is geometry and physics and chemistry
If
and all
that's
that.
how your mind works.
Yes, and we can be disaligned from reality, which many people are. So that's why we need the self-mastery tools, because in the world, masses are disaligned in their minds. Masses are disaligned from truth, from what is real. And that is the source or the reason of all suffering. So it's like all suffering, whether it be physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, all suffering can be explained in the very basic sense by saying all suffering is caused by your mind being disaligned from what is real.
True.
And what is real, what is true is geometry and physics and chemistry and all that. And sometimes you are disaligned from what is. People look at life and reality and see their own perceptions and illusions, which is what's going on in the world for centuries. Masses usually, as you know, live in their illusions, because with their thinking systems, thought habits, and thinking processes, because that can happen in the mind. Like with our thinking processes, we can be disaligned, and that's kind of like the if you call the problem, and also the gift of being a human. It's like it's the reason behind all emotions, because emoting, it's like from the flower of life, because I've started my self-mastery journey with meditation and breath work, and because I had the chance to connect with what we can't name but is there, which is heart of life, reality of life, this energy, quantum physics, and like this life energy, vibration.
Vibrating life force.
Yeah, life force. Because I had the chance to spend a lot of time in the past 23 years of my life with that energy, through breath work, through breathing, through meditation. It's kind of like that energy is, it's like I don't think, but I am certain, because I also use that in advanced trainings, that energy is kind of like the combination of all emotions. So when you think of all chakras, all colors, all sounds, and when you combine it all, it is God or the divine. So it's like all colors, like red, blue, purple, if you combine them all, and if you combine all emotions people ever experience and just get them all and just crash them into a maybe little ball, the first thing you're going to get is zero, nothing. Because when you combine all emotions, like happiness and sadness and depression, and so like all polarities and all emotions, when you bring them all, it's like in math, everything sums up to zero.
When you bring all the colors of the rainbow together, you get the pure light, right?
Pure light. So it's like when
the prism is what. So the prism is what we use to fracture light into all its variants, right?
Yeah. So
the prism, which is the distortion. So when you send pure light through a prism, you get all of the different colors of the rainbow, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like that light hits the human.
So we can go deeper into this, because this is very connected to the Kabbalistic kind of wisdom, and I love this analogy.
Just wisdom. I mean, it's like, and what I was going to say, it's like if you combine them all,
truth transcends mind.
Balance, yeah.
And truth transcends thought. So thought by its own design is distortion, and you can have divine revelation, but when our mind is kind of popping off with judgment, a judgment is a distortion, because it's a distortion of the mind, because it's a fragment of truth. So it cannot by its own nature be truth.
Partial.
You're not objective, you're subjective. You're coming from a position, and that position that you're moving from is always limited to a a limited field. You're speaking red, you're speaking blue.
And I'm going to add something to this, because I know if I'm going to add this, people will understand this concept like better. Because I have had students who have asked me, like, is judging bad? We shouldn't judge. Shouldn't we judge? It's not that judging is good or bad. We just need to understand where the judgment is coming from.
I love that. Exactly. You talked
So the
about
judgment, so the judgment is coming from the human self, you know. And when you look at a human, when we just, because we are human beings, but when you just, let's think we can separate the human and the being for now. And when you just, without the being, look at the human, you know, without that being or the spirit or the soul, just the human. Human gets born and dies. So a human is mortal, the mortal self. And a human is the ego, pure ego. And the human is on earth, experiencing life on earth for maximum of what, 100 years? You know? Let's say,
great.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's a nice,
90 years, let's say, 80 years.
That's a nice,
that's a stretch.
that's a nice inning, man. If you can get 100 years in.
Yeah, let's go 100. Let's go 100.
Yeah.
But when you look at the 100, like, and when you just
120, let's
okay,
just say.
120. When you go a little backwards, like, just look at when you go a little backwards and just, for example, look at Earth, you know, and this human on Earth, just kind of like this dot. And the Earth itself is millions and millions of years old. And when you think on that Earth, that little human, like a dot, even not a dot, it's like dust, you know, a particle, inside on a millions years of organism, just experiencing, what, 100 years of it? And when you go even back, look at the look at the galaxies, look at first the solar system, and think of that human in the solar system, and look at the galaxies, and look at the Milky Way, and the galaxy and the whole universe is made up of millions of galaxies, like our galaxy.
We're dealing with trillions of
and
years.
Then trillions of years, and then you go back and think of that 100 years, 120 years of that human, like a dust on Earth, inside a trillions years of experience and wisdom. And he does judge and say things like, this is right, this is wrong, this shouldn't happen. It's not that judgment is good or bad, it's just stupid.
It's distorted.
Distorted and stupid as well, because it's nonsense, you know. It's like you don't get it, you don't understand it, you have no idea what the fucking universe is all about. So that's the human.
For sure.
But the thing is, so that's why the moment there is a judgment, it is about the human self, and it does not know things. It's like, and I think I have been lucky enough to be born at a mind level where I do not remember a time in my life when I took Nevşah's judgment seriously. You know, I think that's kind of like the way I can explain my spiritual connection would be that it's like I have been so deeply connected with the source and spirit, that being, human being, like my being side was so powerful and strong that I just could not, even if I wanted to, I couldn't take Nevşah's or Luke's or humans' judgment seriously. So that's probably why I did not, over the years, get conditioned to ideas and concepts of society, because the society is, you know, made up of humans, and, you know, humans say one thing one year and then change the other year. You know, some things have been true and good for hundreds of years, and then the opposite is true and good. It's like, like how a human
That's
thinks.
still quite consistent.
And
so
what
you can change it, like in the moment.
Yeah, it's like when you look at humans, what we call wrong and right and this and that just keeps on changing. So it's like it's something not to be taken seriously. And that's kind of like, if you get it, it's not that, like, judgment isn't good or bad. The problem is believing in the judgment. So it's like the belief system of humans, the conditioning, that's not good or bad. It's like it works. It's like social conditioning has its place, and judgments has its place. It's like, and the human will keep on judging because it's a survival instinct. It's like instinctively humans judge because you need the judgment so that you can, like, walk on the street and not fall down, so that you can go up the stairs. It's like the reason we can go up the stairs is because we judge. It's like, you know, there's a stair, or the reason why you don't fall is because you judge. It's like the judgment actually works on the human side because the human is here to survive. It is mortal. I call human it, you know, because it's an it, actually. It's like the animal kingdom if you separate the human and the being. And the human needs that judgment to survive. It's like if you lose your ability to judge, you can't survive, and you have to be in a mental hospital. So it's like people who lose their ability to judge, if they go on that side, the being side, too much, become lunatics. And that's why, like, I have a close friend who had been in his teenage years using heavy drugs, and then he went on a path like breath work and meditation and all that, but like because of whatever happened, because of those extra too much getting every kind of drug, whatever happened to his brain, like he couldn't turn it around, and he was so much on the other side, the being, like he so much lost his connection with his human side and the judgment side, because when you lose your connection with your humanity, you lose your connection with the ability to judge. And when you lose your connection to ability to judge, and that's what's going on right now, because people keep on saying to each other, judgment is bad, we should accept everything. That's like the way you make people drug addicts, and you know, it's like judgment is not good or bad. It is useful. It is necessary for humans to survive. The problem is taking your judgments too seriously.
The attachment.
The attachment, or just taking it too seriously. So, but when we lose our ability to judge,
belief in
exactly
as reality.
But if
we see our judgments as a universal, as a truth,
that's the problem.
Truth becomes fixed. As like,
and it's our truth.
If you could
like
see your
universe,
ideally having that awareness of self and our judgments, which I think you say beautifully, is our ability to distinguish and survive and make choices that allow us to say no to something that's harmful, to be able to see something that we don't want, to relate to our humanity, our humanness, and equally we have a chance to transform. We can discern whether we want to believe that judgment, be like, I won't, or overcome it, because that judgment's rooted in something.
I'm going to add something. I'm going to add something here. So I think right now, because of the disconnection from reality, humans, masses, got the whole picture wrong around judgment. Like I said, it's not good or bad. The idea of not judging is not possible. It's like you're gonna stop the judgment when you die. So the more you try to stop the judgment, the more you kill yourself. It's like people right now are at war with their humanity, trying to overcome their judgments. You don't need to overcome your judgments. You need to just understand that they are your judgments. That's it. It's like, that's why I'm explaining, like when you look at that human like a little dust and then the whole universe, it's obvious that she or he doesn't know anything, you know, but he or she only knows about what's real in her reality. And that's perfect, because it's like, for example, Nevşah says, I like this, I don't like this. that's great. It's like if she's clear about her judgment, if she's clear about what she likes and what she doesn't like, she structures her life accordingly so that she just has people she likes in her life. So what's happening right now around the world is people are, let's not judge, let's not judge. And then they come to my sessions and trainings and they're like, I have this individual in my life I don't enjoy and this I don't like and that's happening. And I'm like, if you're not clear about who you like and who you don't like, and if you don't position yourself, it's like, of course you're going to have people in your life whom you don't like. Because, and people are, it's like the reason why right now in the 21st century, people experience stuff in their lives they don't want to experience is because they're not clear. When you are clear, like clarity, judgmental clarity is very powerful. You know, it's like when, it's, for example, and I give this example in my trainings as well, if I'm clear about who I like and who I don't like, and don't take this judgment seriously. It's like, for example, I like you, I don't like him. I like him as well, but because he's in my space. But let's give an example. Okay. I like you, and let's say I like you, I like him as well, but I don't like the guy on the street. Okay? When I'm clear on what I like and what I don't like, and when I own my judgment, and I also know that, for example, I don't like the guy I meet on the street, and I don't buy that judgment and I don't take it seriously, to know that someone else loves him. Like the guy on the street, I just don't enjoy his presence, I don't like him, but I'm not in the illusion of thinking just because I don't like him, he's unlikable. Because people are making the mistake of believing in their judgments and thinking it is the universal truth. Like I see it in many people. It's like they say he's a bad guy and they're like, they think everybody thinks they're a bad guy. No, it's like, I think, I don't like him, but there is someone who loves him.
For sure.
You know, it's like when you start thinking like something might be right for me and wrong for me, and what I call right might be your wrong. You know, when we distort that and we start thinking my right is the universal right, that's the problem.
That's a massive distortion.
But there is another distortion happening in the world right now. Yeah. People started thinking we shouldn't have any judgments. I'm like, fuck that. Then it's kind of like saying to people, go drug addicts. Because you can't survive. If you don't have a judgment, you can't survive.
So let me speak to this, because I also think there is value in challenging our judgments too.
Yeah, no, let me finish this. Okay. Let me finish this. So when I'm clear, so like when I go back to the example, I like you, then I'm walking down the street, I just don't like the guy I meet on the street, okay? And when I'm clear about my judgments and when I own my judgments and also know that they are my judgments and they are my truth, because we judge life according to our values.
Sure.
I'm going to be judging, I'm going to be liking and loving things and people aligned with my values, and I'm going to be disliking and not loving things that aren't disaligned with my values, and that's how I stay on my path, my destined path. So when I'm clear on this, what's going to happen is the people I don't enjoy and like, when I'm crystal clear about what I like, what I don't, what's my right, what's my wrong, when I'm crystal clear, what happens is I don't have anyone in my life I don't like. They just can't get into my life. They see me on the street and they're like, ooh, I don't want to talk to her. And I don't experience, because I'm so clear on my judgments, because I'm not judging myself about judging things, because it's necessary. I see there is a wisdom in judgment. And like I said, people who lose their ability to judge are in the mental hospital. So it's like having the ability to judge makes us leaders. It makes us strong people. It like people trust people who have clear judgments. Like the reason why people come to my seminars and the reason why my students trust me, because it is because I'm clear on my values and I'm extra clear on who can be in my life and who can't be in my life. You know, I'm not wobbly. And people right now, because they can't own their judgments, are wobbly. And then they're complaining about, you know, the fact that there are people who they dislike in their lives. It's like, it's because you didn't own your judgment and you didn't pay attention to your judgment. It's like when you're clear about what you like, what you don't like, things you don't like do not happen in your life. And that's the basic formula of life. It's just easy. You own your judgments. You're clear on what you want, what you like, what you don't like. You're not wobbly. And then, you know, people you wouldn't enjoy their presence don't even come to your life. You don't see them. They don't see you. They don't come in. So it's like, with my own experience, the clearer I got in my judging ability.
Discernment, yeah.
And I didn't take it seriously anyway. And I can say now, this is my judge. It's like, this is my life. This is my truth. These are my values. And in my presence, if you are in my presence, if you are allowed in my presence, it is because I value who you are and what you're about. And someone else on the street will never ever be in my presence because they do not have something I value. You know, but they are probably the opposite of you or him who is in my presence. And that brings a great amount of value. Just because I'm clear about what I value and what I don't, in my presence you feel valued. If I'm not clear about what I value and what I don't, if I'm not clear about what I like, what I don't, what I dislike, you don't feel valued in my presence. Because if I'm someone who likes everyone, me liking you is not valuable. But I'm someone, I don't like everyone. You know, I don't like everyone. And I'm clear about what I like and I'm clear about who I value. And then in my presence, you feel valued and you feel liked and loved.
And you put value to it because it is valuable. It becomes valuable.
If you don't, if you're not clear about what you value and what you don't value, it's like.
But then you don't value it, and then people also don't.
And then you don't like.
And nothing is precious, and nothing is sacred, on the basis that everything
and people
is
don't feel valued just because of that.
Because you haven't put value to the people, because you allow everything to space.
And when I meet wobbly people, like people who are trying not to judge, immediately in your presence, you're like, you feel unvalued and not cared for. You know, you're like, because they're trying to like everybody, them liking you is like, it has no value. It's like if an individual likes everyone,
from their deepest
no, but it's also like, as a fact, it's like, if someone likes everyone, them liking me has no importance. But if someone just picks and very clear about what he likes and what he doesn't like, them liking me is big. You know, it's like a reward. It's like, you know, it's much more valuable. And that's why the clearer people get about their judgments, the more valuable friendships.
Because everything in this space becomes of a certain frequency.
The deeper friendships and the more valuable it gets. It's like, that's what I'm experiencing with my students as well.
That's amazing. And I completely agree with you. And I have been someone who has fallen for the, if I'm an open spiritual, then I should welcome everyone. And to love does not necessarily mean to welcome everyone in. It's a big mistake. But equally...
Big lesson as well.
Big lesson. I've learned a lot. But also on my personal journey, because there has been something that I've heard that I really loved, which is every time we fall or make a mistake, the universe auto-corrects the best possible route to our success from the place that we are.
Yes.
So even when you're falling and making
Yes.
all the innocent mistakes and you welcome everyone and the universe has recalculated from where you were at.
You just lose time.
You lose time.
Yeah, you just lose time.
But then...
And wise people just go faster.
And then there's also... It was perfect too. So it's like you lose... Again, it's from your position, you're losing time, but from their side...
Or gaining time. Because distorted, we talked about distorted perceptions, and I have done some research, and Einstein worked on this, as you know.
Wormholes? Time
and space.
Yeah.
And Schrödinger and lots of scientists as well. So when you look at time and space and the human experience, time expands or time shrinks according to your perception.
Nice.
When you are infatuated with something or someone, time shrinks. When you are despised about someone or something, time expands. So when you dislike something so much, or someone,
you create space.
Staying in their presence with that dislike, you expand time.
These are all very Kabbalistic concepts.
And when you,
it's really interesting.
Yeah, but it's also science. It's like, but when you like something so much, infatuated, time shrinks. That's why people who are infatuated with life in itself says things like time is too fast and days are passing too fast. It's like, because if you're infatuated with life, if you are distorted, and many people are, like, that's the reason why people feel like they're on the fast track, because they did shrink time. And right now, because people usually in the 21st century, and that's the last thing I'm going to say for this episode, and then we'll continue on the next episode. In the 21st century, people are in a distorted perception about life and death as well. Death is being perceived as something negative, and life is being perceived as something positive. That's why people have speeded up life, because they are infatuated with life, and life is just going too fast because they think death is losing something or death is negative, and they got distorted, and that's why time has shrinked for many people. So it's faster or slower. It depends on our perception, and we can dive deep into this in our next video.